at the start of the journey that we had at Kita, I had a pretty toxic mindset with work. You know what I mean? Like things like just torturing myself with very little sleep, overextending myself at work, taking on too many tasks, not being as kind and as patient as I could. You know, I started the cafe and the restaurant when I was 18, still living at home, still living with my parents, and you're going to work with your parents, and then you're also going home with your parents, and working with family is tough. It's hard.
I mean, what's the role of your partner then?
She was someone that really sort of also took me off my high horse a little bit and went, wait a minute, mate. You're not maybe you're not as great as you think you are. Like, you've got stuff to learn.
Zach is a 25-year-old business owner, leader, content creator, and an inspiration we can all learn from.
Just in the hospitality industry in general, there's this perception of just like snacking, not eating correctly, and just drinking copious amounts of caffeine. And there was plenty of times where I'd literally wake up, let's say for example, service begins at 6. I'd wake up at like 5, get ready, lay in bed for half an hour because you're exhausted, get up, get ready, go straight to work. And the reality is that I haven't had a chance to even have a glass of water, haven't eaten anything, haven't sort of moved my body a little bit. And that was definitely the truth for the first couple of years. And then...
Thank you for making the time. Thank you for moving things around to be here. I really appreciate it. In your Kita journey, what was the single hardest moment for launching the restaurant, and how did you overcome it?
Great first question. Of course, straight into the deep end. I think, funnily enough, I can't really boil it down to maybe one specific moment. I think in this life, it's a sort of like a consistent grind and a hustle to keep going through the sort of swings and roundabouts of it all. But I think, funnily enough, the reason for our most success is sometimes the hardest thing to overcome at moments, which is family. Like, I think if I can sort of boil it down to like one thing, is working with family is tough. It's hard. And the reality is when you are, as well as, I started the cafe and the restaurant when I was 18, still living at home, still living with my parents, and you're going to work with your parents, and then you're also going home with your parents. And although 99.999% of the time it's absolutely fantastic, it's absolutely great, there are just points where it's really tough, it's really difficult, because it's just sometimes like a creative clash. Sometimes things aren't necessarily, the expectations sometimes of what you are both working on can be different. And it's a really strange place to be at mentally, where you're encountering decisions whether or not you want to be, parents and son, or you want to be business partners, and trying to differentiate that at times can be sometimes easy, sometimes really hard. And the reality is that sometimes you want to sort of make sure that you're not losing that, the connection as a family because the business isn't going, because the business is interfering with that. So at times that's tough, because you don't want to have arguments with your parents about certain things, and sometimes you do. And when I really think about it, when I really look back on our whole history, I think consistently that's the things that cause me a little bit of mental disturbance, in the sense that it just raises the most amount of questions. And yeah, that's tough. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, what's the role of your partner then in managing both your mental well-being, but also that relationship, which from the little time that I've spent talking to you and knowing you, I know you value. What's the role of your partner to balance, your mental health, but also the relationship you have with your parents, the passion you have for your business, the drive you have for your business to take it beyond a restaurant?
I think it's as well, to add on to the pressure of working with family. She also works with us as well. So in my world, I've got, the place that I spend pretty much more time than I do at home, which is the restaurant. And then I've got my parents there, and then I've got my girlfriend there as well. And it's all of us. And at times when it's working, it's amazing. And it's like, it's beautiful. I always think of hospitality as like some sort of dance or a play, in the sense that when everybody is playing their role and everyone's playing their character correctly, it's just beautiful. And when at times that's great. And my partner's done a really good job at facilitating a really healthy sort of groundwork for me to be in mentally that I didn't have before her. She's someone who, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what I've necessarily done, within, whether it's a record night, whether it's a quote unquote, a failure in terms of just like a bad night. If it's a mediocre night, it's always a safe space for me to come to with her. She's also not someone who measures me on my achievements in that sense. She loves me for who I am, and that's great. And she's also just enforced what's right within a workplace as well. And I think that that's really important, because I think at the start of the journey that we had at Kita, I had a pretty toxic mindset with work. My relationship, what I thought was necessary, wasn't really that necessary. You know what I mean? Like things like just torturing myself with very little sleep, overextending myself at work, taking on too many tasks, not being as kind and as patient as I could. And she was someone that really sort of also took me off my high horse a little bit and went, wait a minute, mate. You're also not as, it might sound a bit funny, maybe you're not as great as you think you are. Like, you've got stuff to learn, and that's cool as well. And we can learn these things together. And the only way you're going to do that is if you ask for help and you seek assistance. So she's been good with that, and just really providing me a place of like unconditional guidance and love with all of it. And when it comes down to tough situations and tough moments where I really find it tricky to make a decision, or maybe I haven't even realized that I've stuffed up, or maybe not taken one of the team members' feelings in consideration, or maybe I haven't done my best work here and I sort of put a lot of effort here, but maybe, she's a great person to be quite blunt and be like, I think this said person is upset because of this reason, and I don't see that. And she has a really good insight, because she's also like the bridge between sometimes the staff and the team and myself. Although I'm relatively the same age as everybody, which is pretty unique in that sense. You know what I mean? Everyone that we work with is the same age, so we relate tremendously well. We hang out a lot. We're quite close. We're quite friendly with one another. We spend a lot of time outside of the workplace together, which is something I'm grateful for. But there's things that they don't want to talk to me about, that they feel comfortable talking to her about, because she's solidified herself within the culture as like such a rock and such like a safe space for them to come to. So then if they come to her with anything, they can entrust in her to then take things to me if things are needed. Say for example, there's something that's happened that maybe that just doesn't really gel with them, doesn't really vibe with them, something they've seen, but they don't want to come to me because they think they might, for whatever reason, might not get in trouble, but like, I might get upset, and then they don't want it. So, it's just so, she's a great place, and she's been one of those people who has just been so, electric with her like impact. Anywhere she goes, she lights up the room, and that's something I'd like to keep forever.
And I hope you can.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful book called 48 Laws of Power. Speaks of a Roman Empire called Marcus Aurelius, who did amazing things, but he always had somebody over his shoulder to tell him, you're just a man. And I think at your age, for you to be able to reflect on that journey shows a huge amount of maturity. It's most of the time we get consumed with an idea, with a passion, with a target, and we lose sight of things. And I think the partnership that you've just spoken about is amazing and something you should continue to cherish. Looking at the well-being part of it, looking at the being your best self part of it, the gym, working out, because I think in most instances you're not just training your body, you're training your mind to do things that are not easy to do.
Correct.
Tell me about how the gym has been a good release, a good point for you to strengthen what you want to do, but also how you want to do it.
Well, I think in short answer, it's changed everything for me. Looking back on just Kita in general, so we've been open for 6 years. I spent, just like anyone would, starting sort of, such a big project, the first couple of years just doing that. And I think I got to a point where I didn't think I had enough time to focus on myself, didn't think I had enough time to go to the gym. I was like, if I go to the gym now, I'm going to be tired for work. I've only got X amount of time to get a rest. And at that point, I was sleeping like 3-4 hours a day, working on all night, all day, and then, literally all night, and then going home. And then again, just throwing the whole fact of that I am now working nights into the mix where like my body is not used to that. So I'm trying to flip my sleep schedule and I'm trying to do that. I was really, really unhealthy. I was losing a lot of weight, and just in the hospitality industry in general, there's this perception of just like snacking, not eating correctly, and just drinking copious amounts of caffeine. And that was definitely the truth for the first couple of years. And then a good buddy of mine, shout out Matt, started a PT business. He took over his brother's PT business, and he was just a friend who came into the shop, met through Kita, and he invited me to just be a part of his sort of revival sort of strategy. We're trying to get it back on its feet, a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of social media and stuff like that. He used me for a bit of modeling and, a couple of promo videos and stuff, but he also gave me a great structure to follow, and he gave me a really good program to go off. I meet with him once a week, and that was sort of our trade-off, and he sort of hooked me up in that respect. And it was great to have someone there because, he was holding me accountable. And at that time, I'd obviously go train with him once a week, but sometimes I wouldn't go maybe when he wanted me to go outside of those sort of business hours with him. And since then, it's just sort of accumulated and grown. And now I go consistently, and I can't think of a day that I wouldn't go for any other reason other than I haven't had enough rest. But it's so important to like my progression in my personal story, because it's the one thing as well that is just like purely and truly me, and it's mine, and it's so inherently like it's the impact that it's made on my life has been profound in the sense that it's given me also the ability to do more. And it's like kind of counterintuitive when you think about it. It's like helps me sleep better, helps me eat better, helps me with my brain fog. It helps me sort of get up from a irregular sleep throughout the day and get out in the sun if I need to, because I sleep all day. And it just sort of resets me every single day, every single night to kind of be my best self for every service as well. And there was plenty of times where I'd literally wake up, let's say for example, service begins at 6. I'd wake up at like 5, get ready, lay in bed for half an hour because you're exhausted, get up, get ready, go straight to work. And the reality is that I haven't had a chance to even have a glass of water, haven't eaten anything, haven't sort of moved my body a little bit. And then I expect myself to now sort of house, hundreds of customers on a busy Friday night. So that was the original perception, is that I just didn't have time. I didn't have the energy. But once I realized I could do it, and then you kind of accumulate that over a period of time. And then just like anything that's really hard to start with, once you do it a lot, it doesn't get as hard, and you can kind of keep growing and growing and growing and growing. And you're right. It's a massive help for my mental health as well. Like, gives me the confidence that I need to preach the mission that I'm trying to do. It helps that like, I feel better. Things like skin's better and all these types of things. There's like a acne prone sort of teen going through that. That's a nice feeling. And yeah, it's like ingrained in my routine, and it's fantastic. At Kita, we actually have something called Fitta, where usually once every other month we get together as a team to do some form of physical based activity together, and it started out as like some like circuit class or a HIIT class, and then we've done rock climbing. We did a hike at the Baroomba Rocks as well. We're going on a hike next Monday, long weekend, to Mount Kosciuszko. So like I think the physical component of it is really important, and funnily enough, I think again in the history of the hospitality industry, there's this perception of just like putting just whatever your bodily needs and your like general health aside for like the cause of the restaurant. And I think that's completely wrong, and it's definitely doable. It's difficult, and you have to relatively be organized with your time. And I know some people might be listening to this and just say like, I'm never organized in my time. I'm consistently late to most things. But like how I want to spend it and what I want to do with it is what I hope to be forgiven, because it's making sure that I'm bettering myself first, and then I can kind of give that out.
To do most things well, Zach, I think you need an unfair advantage. At 25, I think you have an unfair advantage of the experience, but also knowing what you need, also knowing why you did what you did, because no one gives you a blueprint to succeed at anything. And if you enjoy a little bit of success, you go, I've got to keep doing more of that. You can't stop doing that. But it's only later that we realize that a better me is better for everyone. And I think that's really wonderful that you've really found that journey, that you've locked it in, and lots of other people can learn from you. Fitter seems like a wonderful idea, because a lot of the like-minded people that hang out with you, work with you, can be a part of that journey. And that's really, really nice. What is the one thing that people don't understand about running an overnight restaurant?
Well, I think, especially in Canberra at least, where we haven't really had anything, or at least for a little while, that is within that realm of sort of operating hours, is that it's just basically just like any other cafe. Things aren't really that much different. It's just you flip your PMs and your AMs around, and there you have it. It's like, you know, we still do our ordering the same. We still do all the rostering, all the payroll. Everything is essentially the same. The only disadvantage that I guess you have is that if you run out of skim milk at 2 a.m, I can't go to Coles, you know what I mean? Like I can't just go grab some. But you know, 7-Eleven's actually quite helpful sometimes, even though it costs an arm and a leg. But like I think the misconception is like people are just so like caught up about like who's coming, what's going on, like you know, who's here at 3 a.m. And that's such a great question, because I love talking about it, but it's quite anticlimactic. It's like, well, just literally anyone. You know, some people literally just come and get a coffee at like midnight with their meal, because that's just when they like to have coffee. And, you know, you don't know someone's routine, you don't know their schedule. So like, although at times we like to have more of a personable style of service, like I encourage all the guys at work and myself to ask, you know, about people, what are they doing, if they seem open to a conversation. You know, that's a great way to sort of make people feel comfortable. But yeah, it's just people are working. You know, there's so many people in like the public service who do like do the overnight IT stuff and help desks, and people who work for, you know, the people that are, I don't even know if that's the right word, meteorologists and all that type of stuff. They track all the sort of natural disasters that's happening around the world. Like there's so many people, and they're just like anyone else who would be working throughout the day. And we, just like any other cafe that gets a midday lunch rush, we get a midnight dinner rush. And it wasn't always like that. Like, you know, for the first couple of years, it was really tough, and it was really long and boring, and just sort of, you know, just very just like demoralizing a little bit, because you'd be sitting there for pretty much most of the night and no one would come. But we realized quickly that with how things in Canberra kind of goes, I feel like sometimes, more often than not, most businesses in Canberra sometimes close before their advertised hours. So something that always just irritated me is I would go to a cafe at like, you know, 3:50 and get a coffee, but they advertise they're open till 4 and then they've closed. And it's like, you know, I might do that once or twice and that's a little bit annoying, but I do it 3 times. I'm just like, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And we had, we had the extra pressure of that, like times a million, right, with Kita, because originally we would open from 9 p.m. when we first opened. We opened the doors at 9 and we closed at 9 in the morning. And we'd get really, really, really busy from 9 p.m. till maybe midnight and 1. That was the hype of it, us opening. Everyone's like, wow, we had to come out and just to see if the rumors are true. And from like midnight to 1 a.m. to 9, I'd get no one. And that was like 8 hours, 9 hours of just torture for like a year or two. And it's just that constant, but then I started getting one customer in at 8 o'clock. And then I started getting 2 customers in at 8:30. And then it sort of grew up from there. And then between then and now, we've obviously chopped and changed our hours. But we've been quite crucial with how we want to be perceived as a loyal business, because some people even now will come at like 5 a.m., duck their head in and no one's around, which is fair because it's quiet. And just like maybe in another cafe, 5 p.m., sometimes it'd be quiet. It's like, yeah, of course we're open. Of course we're open. It says that we're open. We're going to be here. Even if I get 100 customers or no customers, like I'll definitely be open till then. But I think that's the biggest misconception, is that people are like, who comes? Like, what's going on? Like, well, that's so weird. That's like so crazy. That's so crazy. It's just like, it's not really that crazy. It's just, it maybe takes crazy people to run it. But like, I think it's just like anywhere else. And that, as well as people just think we're 24 hours. Like they sometimes just like can't compute the very simplicity of the fact that, no, we're just 12 hours, 6 till 6. And then it's easier to just dub us as a 24-hour cafe, which would be great. Maybe one day, who knows? But yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception. But we're just like anyone else. We're just like anywhere else. We still have the same exact standards. If not, we try to hold ourselves to a higher regard. And, we're just like a cafe. So people might come in and expect a restaurant service as well. What we like to call is like we have casual cafe business model with like restaurant level standards, in the sense that like the service that you're going to get might be better than your than your sort of regular cafe down at the local. But the style of food and how the menu's laid out is that you get one dish per person, just like if you were to go to a cafe, instead of going to a restaurant where you get little dishes and you kind of share, and you might get tasty menus and you get a little bit tapas or something like that. We're just a cafe. So we just operate during the night. So obviously that means as well, your cafe doesn't really serve wine, beer and wine as well. We don't serve alcohol as well. And that's been really great as well with our progression of the business model. But just like any other cafe, just that we operate during the night.
Based on what you've just told me, who's the most interesting person that you've met working at Kita?
There are lots. There are lots, funnily enough. There's the thing about Kita and the thing about the community that we have here, and especially our customers and what we've created since opening, is that we attract literally everyone, which is great. And it can range from, people who are like quite literally using the services quite intentionally. Let's say, people who are doing shift work, people who are, actually working, and that's the core reason why we opened, and everyone else is kind of like a beautiful addition. And yeah, so it can range from there to just people sort of who come and play like D&D, with their friends late at night, card games and Uno. And it can range from night workers from like Fish Week. It can range from authors. It could range from, people who are in the neighborhood and they just want to sort of escape home for a little bit for whatever reason. They want to come to a safe space. And that's something that's really quite an enriching feeling for me, especially when people are coming there just to be just somewhere around people, and that's amazing. But just to nail it down to one person, that's tough. Like I used to have this lady that came in pretty regularly, and she was an author, and she had amazing, gothic aesthetic with, dragon rings and like tattoos, and she'd come in with a cane. And she'd be like, blacked out with boots and piercings as well, and unusual in the best way. And she was an author, and she was writing fantasy books, and she would spend hours with me, hours and hours and hours. Quite frequently, every single week. Sometimes sometimes, twice or three times a week, and she might pop in various amounts of time. But, her longest time with us was back when we used to open for days. So originally, quite some time ago, we used to do day service on the weekends. So that would be operating from, 6 p.m. till midday, which is 16 hours of service, which is quite long. She used to come in sometimes, around the mid-evening mark at 9 or 10 and stay with me till like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And she'd just write and she'd hang out, and we didn't really like necessarily talk that often, but she'd just stick around and she'd just write. And she says she had a physical condition that caused her pains in her hands. So I just thought it was so like interesting. This person would come in here. She had a space that she can write. I'm proof to the fact that like I can't really work at home. I like to get out a little bit. So she's coming here to use this space to write, maybe get a meal, maybe 2 meals. And then if she gets into brekkie service, maybe she'll get some bacon and eggs or something like that. And have this condition where her hands hurt all the time and she's like using them to write. And it was just it was just crazy. And that's what I think is pretty interesting. But like, that's just the first person that comes to my mind, just because maybe I haven't seen her in a little while. And, if she's ever she's watching this or she's out there, like, I hope she's doing okay, because it's probably actually been a couple of years. And, in conjunction with just random interactions with people who I've never seen again, just one-offs. I have these remarkable conversations with people late at night, and sometimes they make a really crazy impact on my life, and I can't sometimes even remember what they look like, or like, what in particular we talked about. It was just a great environment to have a very random chat, because some people will come in maybe a little bit intoxicated, their inhibitions are down a little bit, and I'm just there by myself, and I think I do an okay job at picking up body language and all that type of stuff. If people want to sort of lean in on a conversation, we can kind of get into it, and we can kind of do that. And part of my role there is that people come there during the night, and if I need to talk to someone or with someone for an hour, usually sometimes I do. And sometimes I have some really good conversations, but then I'll just never see them again. It's like I don't know. It's like they vanish, and it's like they might not even have existed. But we've just been, it was just there to have that conversation. So yeah. But from there, like, we can have, just a great range of people. We can have people coming in from the middle of the night on their P's, just because their parents have let them out to come here, because we don't serve alcohol. They're not gonna sort of get into any sort of argy-bargy. It's like it's a pretty safe space, and we're able to be quite inclusive of everyone, and that's what KID has always been. It's been a space for everyone, and we leave out no one. So that's where I stand.
Successful people see opportunity in every failure. Normal people, most times, see failure in every opportunity. They're both right. Only one's getting rich. The decision to not serve alcohol, was that a conscious decision? Was there some thinking behind that?
I mean, I like to, I think, depending on who's asking, I always, there's some sort of, bigger, like, more impactful sort of moral and like a little bit of like life experience behind it or something like that. And like, when we really look back on it, the reason why we didn't do it from the start is because I didn't have any expertise in it. I was a coffee guy. I was making coffee for 3 years before that at different cafes. And we were kind of like, should we do alcohol, do top shelf sort of liqueurs, maybe some craft beers, maybe local wines, keep it really top shelf and keep it quite minimal, keep it simple. Or should we just not? And we decided not to. And that's probably been one of the best decisions, because it has turned into actually something that means a little bit bigger than that. It's turned into like a different perception of nighttime dining in Australia, I think, as well. Like, I think a lot of people at the start thought we were going to fail just because of that. And you're kind of like, you guys are crazy people, man. Like, you think you're going to fail because we don't serve alcohol? Like, that obviously shows and speaks volumes to where they sit with the dining scene, especially in Australia. And it's just like, no, like, we don't need it. And we never did. And obviously, we would have made a lot more money, maybe. But I think the whole culture would be different if we did. And I've never worked in a venue that serves alcohol. And I've actually been really interested to see what it's like, because I get everybody that comes through the Kita after they finish their shift at whatever bar, restaurant or club they're working. And it's just like, it's interesting to see these people, just see what's going on. It's so normal to have after work drinks. It's so normal, to drink during work as well. It's ridiculous. It's really out there. Every time I hear of a workplace that doesn't allow their staff to drink on job, I'm surprised. I'm like, okay, you're one of the good ones. That's great. And I hear that less often, you know what I mean? Than the latter. So, it's just turned into a macho, because it's like, we didn't want a place where people could just come and then, sort of booze all night and whatever. We wanted people to feel safe. We wanted people to feel included. We didn't want to have any pressure of social pressure, drinking. We want, how can you expect people to come and relax when there's someone next to them maybe that's intoxicated and drunk? And it was also just logistically, how would we do it? The alcohol license, is quite expensive. And then if we're opening after midnight, do we keep paying after midnight? Because that also gets incrementally more expensive every hour that you serve alcohol. And so all those people out there that go to bars after midnight, they're still serving you alcohol. That's really expensive for them. And the fact that we didn't realize, just should we cut it at midnight? Do we just do it, or do we just not do it at all? So it's just one of those things. If you're not going to do it fully, just don't do it. And that's kind of stuck, and that's been probably one of the best decisions, because it's just created such a great atmosphere, a great vibe. Everyone's there's just no pressure. It's just so much more chill, and it doesn't there's nothing wrong with wanting a glass of wine with your meal. And if you've come to expect to celebrate with a bottle that you brought, and you're told, unfortunately, at our doors that we just don't do BYO either, we just don't do any alcohol at all, then it's totally okay to not want to dine there and then go somewhere else. And then because you've got a celebration, you've got a bottle of wine. I like a bottle of wine, and you want to sort of maybe enjoy that with the people that you are. But it's the people that are rude about it. It's the people that are disrespectful. It's the people that sort of will judge us and scoff and and then come and sit down and just be so difficult to deal with because they haven't got what they wanted, because their expectations weren't met. And that's the type of people who don't really sort of want to serve. And then that's a really easy way for me to tell the team and me to tell myself that, these are the people we're doing it for. These are the people we're not doing it for. And that's it's so black and white when it comes down to people who are just disrespectful. And it's one of those things, but it's been an integral, sort of component of our business model. And, I'm so grateful that we made that decision.
There's a whole lot of maturity in that. You can't be a place for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to know those that you care about so that you build a community.
Yeah.
Who's the inspiration for you in learning, in running business, and in getting the maturity that you have? There has to be someone that's inspired you or inspiring you.
Good question. Real quick on the alcohol thing though, if you look at our TripAdvisor reviews, and there's a couple of them when we first opened that are 1 star solely about alcohol. So if anyone wants to look into our TripAdvisor reviews from 2019 or 2018, there's this one dude, it's pretty funny. It's a good read. But no, who inspires me? Obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is always the family, always the people around me. I've grown up in a hustle culture, growing up, and it's turned out for better or worse reasons. But I'm grateful that I've done it, and I'm grateful that I've had it. And the people that I've been around growing up have always been working, and the fact that most of the time it's done with quite little complaints, and that's quite admirable at times. And I look up to my parents. I think both my mum and my dad offer a very different sort of inspiration between the two of them. One's more dreamy, one's more reality based. And I won't say who's who, but essentially, they offer different types of support nets that I go to when I need sort of something answered. My partner is a massive inspiration to me, of course. She's always inspired me to be better, be a better person, be a better leader, be a just general, be a human, to have empathy, to listen to people and to hear people. And then within the industry itself, I think someone like potentially Louis from Onziem, he's someone that I look up to in a professional sense, because he's someone who has very loosely what I want, which is a great restaurant with great produce, with great food, and he's having fun. And he's just doing it because he loves it, and he's doing it because despite it being difficult and tough, and him at an age where it seems unconventional to start a restaurant, he's just doing it, despite that. And that's pretty cool. And he's a great person because he's someone who I look up to. And every time he comes into the restaurant late at night after he finishes his shifts, we have great conversations. We have great sort of back and forth reflections on how services went. We talk a lot about managing people's expectations, which in other words is complaining about the customers that we had that night. But it's like semi-true. And yeah, there's so many great people in the industry. You got AK, who does AK's Diner, ex head chef at XO. Someone like Alex from Fox and Bow, of course. He's someone who just lights up the room every time you come in it. And there's no shortage of people around you that can inspire you. It's just you sort of want to pick and choose different parts of people, and you want to sort of lean into it. And like I said before, you need people around you to help you, and you can't necessarily do everything alone. But you also want to be a better you as well. So there's definitely a whole range of people. Bigger and better sense in terms of even like a podcast, and someone like Stephen Bartlett as well, Diary of a CEO, someone who I really look up to, partly because I'm a sucker for like a British accent, but he has just a really great way of just conveying, his thoughts and proposing questions and having a back and forth conversation. Obviously, he's been doing it for a couple hundred episodes now, but that's someone who my partner got me onto originally. He had a really great episode talking about the meaning of happiness and all that type of stuff. And I have yet to find another podcast that gives me that sort of same satisfaction, that I can just listen to it and just fully get and put myself in. And, I feel like at times, like I wouldn't say necessarily like in my head, but like, he's really asking the questions that I'd ask, or he's coming at it in a way that I would come at it. And it's also had just a massive impact on just the way that I talk, the way that I carry myself, the way that I speak, the way that I convey my messages and all this type of stuff. He's someone that I definitely, seek to when I need a little bit of comfort maybe. And without listening to, funnily enough, podcasts on like, a regular basis, let's say maybe I listen to one or two a week, I feel like it's just really added value and giving me an advantage of how I can speak as well. Like listening to other people talk, listening to professionals, quote unquote, and all these people that are in the industry in different little pockets of the world, and listening to how they convey their messaging has just, whether or not I'm really even listening to it, even at the gym, like it's just there. And that just does something. It's just like really good, because I think growing up and all that type of stuff, I never thought I was like a really big academic. I didn't enjoy school a lot. And I didn't do the uni route. And being able to just listen to people speak about things has been probably something I was missing out most of without doing that route, right? Like I didn't miss anything specific. I just missed out on professionals in the industry, in their field, talking about things. And I got that through podcasts personally. I got to sort of pick and choose what I believe though. But, that's that. And that's great. That's great. Selective, decisive decision making and all that type of stuff. That's a skill within itself. But they would be the people who I sort of hold in a high regard for sure.
And that's wonderful. That's modern learning, right? I'm going to propose someone for you to check out when you have a moment.
Cool.
It's a dude called Chris Williamson.
Oh, yeah.
From Modern Wisdom. It's an amazing conversation he has with Alex Samosi, which speaks about hustle, but speaks about looking after yourself.
Yeah, cool.
Speaks about, taking care of yourself and continuous learning. Mm-hmm. In your journey of learning, in your journey of running Kita, what are those top 2 leadership skills that you believe you built?
Well, I think the sooner I realized that culture is everything was when we started to really make a change in what we see as the hospitality industry, for sure. I think with that, it took time. Like I didn't realize that at all until maybe the second or third or fourth year into business. And at that point, I'm like 21 or 21, 22. And I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out myself and still trying to figure out what my values are and what my sort of instilled morals are and what I stand for. And once I realized, like, you know, you need to stand for something to make you feel that you're important, like to make you feel that you matter. That's been sort of the tipping point of it. Like, that's been really big for sure. And yeah, you want to just create this culture, and the fact that the culture itself doesn't create itself, you know, just overnight. It takes time, it takes care, it takes love, it takes energy, it takes patience, and it takes the right people as well. And it all starts from the one person, which is me. So I need to figure out what culture I want to set. I need to figure out how I want to react in stressful situations. I want to figure out how I want to respond to someone messing up, you know, making a mistake. I need to figure out what I want to do. I need to figure out what I want to do. You know, I need to figure out how I need to be. And then from there, you can lead by example, of course. You know, that's a classic, but it's like speaks the truth. I think it's very, like, it's a, you know, it's a statement as old as time. It's you just lead by example. You know, you do as I do and not as I say. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think that's actually the opposite of the original saying, right? And it's like so true, because you can sit there and you can say these things, you can do these, like, you know, you can preach, you know, your values and your morals, but like, unless you're really instilling them, like, you know, no one's going to believe you. So quite recently, I've instilled, you know, within myself and the guys that our core values at Kita are fun, community, and connection. And if we're able to do everything that we do loosely based on those three fundamental core pillars, then we're good. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have fun at work, and it's like sometimes a lot of people don't want to hear that, because it's like, for some people who are really stressed and people who might not really have the same expectations as you, they just want to go, oh, you know, this is not fun. This is business, you know, like, we need to make money. And it's like, well, you know, it can come across as a little offensive sometimes. People, it's like, well, you're having fun. It's like, fun doesn't matter. And it's like, that's where I think the industry has sort of strayed away from the whole love and passion of it, is because people are in it because they got bills to pay and they got the things, which is the reality. And that's, I've got bills to pay as well, and it's whatever. But like, you're not having fun, you have fun, right? And the hospitality world is just it's so easy to have fun in it. And it's like so doable, so fulfilling. And with that, like, the community aspect of it as well, right? Like, who are you going to surround yourself with? Who in your team are you going to put together to make sure that everyone's having fun as well? And then you got to make sure that everyone's connecting as well. And the community aspect, I like to reflect it back on the internal side of business. So like, that's the community. It's not necessarily the customers. Unfortunately, they're not a part of this one, but they're part of the connection. So, you know, and then what you're going to do with that community to connect with everybody else is pretty impactful as well. But the first thing, yeah, as I said, is culture is everything, 100%. And oh damn, the second thing. I don't even know if I have a second thing. I just stand by the first thing as much as I can.
And I think that's the simplicity. Right?
Yeah.
The simplicity and maturity that you bring at your age is amazing, because it's been tried and tested. You've been through the mill. You've been through tough days, and you've been through the days that make you feel really good. If somebody would walk up to you and say, hey, Zach, I've started a restaurant. For the last week, I did 6 covers. Not even my cost. Should I just give up? How would you give them some realistic, not just positivity, some realistic advice on, you know, staying in stuff, managing cost when you first start, in a couple of minutes? Because, you know, sometimes when you're in that situation, you're not willing to listen. You're just asking stuff, but, you know, the answers are going past. How would you give somebody a couple of words of wisdom?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I brought up Stephen Bartlett before, but I went to one of his seminars last year, and he had a great framework for quitting and failure, what he saw as failure. And he's a great person. He's a big advocate for pro-failure. Like, he's like, if you don't, like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to give up. It's okay to quit and move on, as long as you've really milked what you've got. And that's a framework that I've been quite quite passionate about in the last year or so since I've heard it. And essentially, what he spoke about is that if you're at sort of at a point in your journey or a point in the road where you can either quit and you can stop and you can you can just sort of just leave it behind and go like, cool, that's it, or you can pivot and make a decision for yourself to understand what you could improve on to make it better for you as well. And if you go that route and you do it out, and I'm not saying like, you do it and a week later nothing happens. Like, do it for like 6 months, do it for 7 months, do it for 8 months. And when you're young and when you're my age as well, sometimes like 8 months, 7 months, a year, that seems like a really long time. And time is precious and time is great, but it's how you want to use it. And if you can look back on a year of your life and say that I really stuck it out, and even though I'm at a point 12 months later that I just don't want to do it anymore, that's not a failure. Like, you've learned so much in that time, and it's just the perception of what you've done that makes the difference in how you're going to move forward. So like, pivot, figure out what's going to work for you. Pivot if you need to potentially, hire more staff, create, sit down with yourself, create a dish that you might be really passionate about, or a drink that you want to have fun with, and put it on the menu, and then just run with it, and just have something that is always keeping you there, and have something that sort of, always makes you want to wake up in the morning and go in because you're really excited to perfect that one thing or whatever, like that type of stuff. And then if that doesn't work, then you can come to a decision again, and then you can pivot again, and then you can kind of like figure out what's going on. And then if it's just not your thing, and I think that's one of the funny things in hospitality, is just like the output is dramatically different to the input that you get, right? It's so much effort. There's so many moving parts. There's like so many overheads when it comes to running a hospitality venue that like sometimes you're just like, what am I even doing it for, right? And that's the reality of it. And it's like, it's so taxing. It's hard on your body. If you don't really learn that balance, then you're going to do more harm than good to yourself and potentially to people out there. And it's like, you can also just figure out what else you're good at. Like, the world, funnily enough, and I know it might sound a little blunt, like the world just doesn't need like another average restaurant or an average venue. Like, you know what I mean? Just figure out what you're good at. And if you gave sort of food and beverage a go, and it wasn't your thing, like, that's cool. Just like, just pivot, and it might just not be your thing, and that's fine as well. And yeah, seek what gives you the most fulfillment as well. And if you're just not getting it, then yeah, but 100% stick it out. That's literally the biggest thing. Like, do it for a year, and see how it is at that point.
Wise words. All right. So next, our focus is going to be the digital media series that you started. Stay Up With Me. That's my introduction to Zach. I knew nothing about Kita. I knew nothing about you as a person. When I watched one of those reels, it was very authentic. People used authentic in very strange ways, going, be yourself and all of that. But he was this young person sharing his life in a way that he didn't want anything in return. And I loved that. Then I watched the second one, and you still weren't asking for anything. A lot of the time, people ask for stuff, sell stuff, position themselves. Tell me about how you got started with the series, and where is it taken you? What do you want to do with it? That thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the great thing about it, because a lot of people never heard about Kita or me, but more Kita and its story until you start talking about it yourself, right? Like, you want to give someone something to talk about, and the only way you're going to do it is just put it out there. And the impact that it's had on my life is profound. It started about a year ago February, and just sort of put myself out there, just recorded a little video, had my phone as a microphone, and you realize from just that one little 15-second clip that like anything was really possible. I was like, oh, this feels right. Like, this feels like it's scratched an itch that I didn't even know was there. And look, no joke. Like, the feedback and what I got from it was great. A lot of people resonated with it well, and that helped. And that sort of, that really pushed sort of the the snowball down the mountain to then acclimate to what it is today. And I've just been doing it weekly since. It turned into something that sometimes goes up and down. Sometimes it's like just a pure vlog of the week itself, day-to-day stuff, pretty mundane things. It's just the inside life of someone who runs a cafe. But I think the edge of it being an overnight cafe was sort of my you know, the edge that I brought to social media. And, you know, from it, I've just learned an incredible amount of skills with it. Like, I really enjoy the whole process of it, which is really great. And I think you're right. Like, I think in the sense that I don't really expect anything else in return. And although it's good when things do happen, I think I just want to share like what I've got going on there. And that's really, 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 really special, and something that like is quite unique to me. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. Like, I've just enjoyed it. Like, you know what I mean? And the practical sense of how much business it's brought is like, you know, that's not what we're doing it for, but like it has, you know what I mean? And it's a bit of a running joke even with the team, is that everyone there are like little sort of celebrities and little superstars, because they see them in the backgrounds. Sorry, people see them in the backgrounds. People see the staff in the backgrounds of my videos, or sometimes there's little features with them in there, and then they come to the shop and they're like, oh, you know, like it's what I think they deserve. And I am aware that most of the guys at Kidder, when I started filming, didn't sign up for that. So I've had conversations with them, and I said, if you don't want me to film anything, just tell me shut up, I can put it away. But now that now we've hired a couple more staff, I say, you know, you're cool with being on camera every now and then. I sort of, you know, might, you know, chuck a camera in your face and we can have a little debrief of the night if you're feeling comfortable to do that and whatever. So I've had a fantastic team who are comfortable with that, who are supportive of that. And it's quite easy, especially when you're trying to put yourself out there and be quite passionate, and something that's a little bit scary, a little bit daunting, where someone's energy is not right and it's just, you just don't want to do it at all. Like, oh, don't worry about it, I don't want to do this. And I've had a great, you know, team around me who have just been so supportive of it. And so yeah, relentlessly like just an advocate for it all. And it's really, really lovely, which is great. But I think, yeah, the reality of it is that it's just changed my life. It's created so many opportunities to, you know, give me the ability to connect with people. You know, obviously the reach in social media is infinite. Like, I can reach anyone, anywhere in the world. And I've spent, you know, some of my life just watching other people do that. And it's like, well, yeah, like, someone else can do it, I can do it. And what I hope to gain from it is just, you know, the only thing I actually ask in return is just that it's just giving me life experience. It's just giving me experience. You know, I'm able to talk to people from, you know, around Australia about, you know, their ventures, their journey, their restaurants, their businesses. And it sort of has given me a bit more of a bigger perspective of what hospitality can be as well. I am now interested in, you know, more in the content creation side of things, but I love hospitality. So whether or not it takes me down a route of being in hospitality, but I can just document things and have a lot of fun with it, do like food journaling, a little bit Anthony Bourdain action, and travel around the world and incorporate all these little things and make it mine. And you know, that's something that I've created for myself, and I'm something I'm quite proud of. But like, it's also just something that I feel like a lot of people think that they can't achieve. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love hospitality, but I also love traveling. I love, you know, content creation, and I also just love interaction. And some people might just think, oh, because you're in hospitality, you're bound to just running one restaurant here and you can't leave. It's like, you can kind of do bits and pieces and bring it together and have a lot of fun with it. And that's what it's given me. And speaking about the framework that I had before about it, is that the real deeper meaning of why I started this series is because I wasn't getting the fulfillment that I thought I needed at Kidder. It was at our 5th year mark, and everything felt really, really repetitive. I didn't really feel like I was honoring my creative self. I felt like I was capped, and not by anything specific. I just was like, I've just done this. Like, I've done this. It's 5 years. Like, we're figuring it out. Not really enjoying it, and not really waking up every day as much as as excited as I was, you know, a year ago or 2 years ago. What's going on? What's happening? And it was basically just because in short answers, because I just didn't have something that I had full creative rights over, right? Like, you know, I was butting heads a lot creatively with, my parents sometimes about things. And it was just like, I was like, oh, I just want to do something or whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something that's completely for myself, that I have full creative rights over. And I'm going to just like own it and do it. And I did it. And now it's like flourished into this little community. And now it's what I have now. And it's just turned into something that what started out to be very daunting, very scary and very off-putting, to just something that is just giving me the ability to like have like, it's like a superhuman ability to connect with people. And it's like, I would never have had this just within the confines of the four walls of Kita. You know what I mean? Like there's more to what's going on out there and there's more to the industry. And I realized that I've almost been preparing for all of it for the last like 5 years. All the things that I say on the camera, all the things I'm saying now are things I've said with customers, like that strange, like author lady, I've just said it like a billion times over, just not with cameras or with microphones. So it's like, it's like really funny how it's like, I look back on it and I'm like, I've definitely said these things and I've definitely preached, how I feel about things. And now I just get to share that with other people. And funnily enough, people resonate with it. People agree with it, or people feel quite thought provoked by it. And it's really rewarding. It's quite fun.
And does it make you happy?
Makes me really happy. Yeah, it makes me really happy. It's single. I have a little inside joke myself. It's like literally the single hardest thing on my mental health I think I've had in a long time, but it gives me the most fulfillment. And I think that's just like anything, right? It's I just like anyone else can sort of fall victim to likes, views, comments, your interactions, what people are saying about it and all this type of stuff. But as long as I'm having fun and as long as I'm sharing the story that I originally sought out to share, then I'm good. I'm sweet. And it went through a period of time where but like it's funny because at the moment I'm like it's growing, and just like anything in business, when business is good, you're good, and when business isn't good, you can sort of feel a bit rough. But yeah, there was definitely a bit of a dark moment, especially the second half of last year. And I was only doing it for a couple of months at that point, and it just wasn't, I don't know, it was just capped, and it just wasn't growing, and it wasn't going anywhere. And like leading back to my past, she's just like told me to just keep doing it, keep going. And I'm glad I listened to her. And now it's turned into what it is today. And it's not that it's it's bigger and it's quote unquote better. It's just the fact that like I've just got my niche. I know what I'm doing. I want to go around Canberra and just eat cool food and document it. Like, some of my videos now that have had the most views or had the most interactions that people like is just a very easy, choppy video, no music, no nothing, no microphone, nothing. And all it is the product and what I've got, which is the substance, which is a banh mi or like a strawberry ice matcha, whatever it is. And then I talk about it, and I talk about it from the heart and I have a bit of fun with it. And that's what tends to like resonate with people. And then I use my Stay Up With Me series as a full creative outlet. So like I had text, I had like, transitions, I had like audio clips, I think about my script, I plan out my week, Tuesday's script, Wednesday's filming and Thursday's editing. And that's how I do my week. And I really put a lot of effort into that, and I just have fun with it. And that's a great way for me to diary. It's pretty much just diary entry, and that's really cool. And that's just like and it doesn't matter if that gets a couple hundred or a couple thousand views. Like it's all good, but like that's just the skill set that I'm getting in return, because it's just fun, and that's just like what's going to propel me in the 22nd what century are we in? What's that? 21st century?
Yeah. 21st century.
Yeah, like, in this day and age, it's increasingly important to have this knowledge. I think like, around sort of technology and around like, social media, and if you use it, you benefit. And if it's only going to get better or worse in the future, then I can hopefully have a really good opportunity in the future to have a bit of fun. So yeah.
You also give other businesses in Canberra a fantastic platform. Like I've seen the stuff that you did with Pialigo after Pialigo reopened. You were there for an event, I believe. The Majura Sunflower Farm. Yeah. That's really cool. But also it gives you a strong personal brand. People now know who you are and what you're all about and what you can do. So you can pivot whenever you want to pivot industry or whatever you want to do. But with content creation, with social media, everyone has got a microphone. How do you deal with quote unquote the haters, but the people who want to just say stuff that might not be positive? How do you deal with that? Do you read it? Do you take any notice of it? What do you do with it?
Well, I think I do a really good job at only believing the things that I tell myself that I'm good or bad at. And sometimes the things that I tell myself that I'm bad at is a million times worse than anyone else can tell me that I'm bad at. Like someone can comment on me and go like, yeah, like, you know, oh, you mispronounced this and really like, you know, want to put me down for putting myself out there, or like, you know, oh, like, you know, like I actually, funnily enough, I'm really lucky. I haven't had anything too like crazy bad. And, yeah, in terms of like any horror stories, I can't even name any. I'm so lucky to have that. But like, I think when it comes to even down to just like having a neutral ground on things most of the time is probably my way of looking at things. And that even goes back to how I deal with like bad reviews or bad like sort of criticism or feedback, unless it has any substance or any like usable or tangible sort of like proactive advice. You know, someone, you know, the difference between a 1-star review that has no comment whatsoever on Google. It's so, although extremely frustrating and very annoying, because you wish they just would have said something. This is like a 1-star and they've slashed it, and it's like, and you know, compare that to like a 1-star or a 2-star review that says, got the nasi on Tuesday, you know, it was too oily and I felt like the gato just lacked a little bit of seasoning. I'm like, cool, I can use that. That's great. Like that's you know, that's proactive. I can use that, and that's what I take with it. But I think in general, just trying to be neutral with it all, and that even reflects even the things that you are doing really well, right? Like all the views that I get, or the likes, or the people that's commenting on it. And you know, oh my god, you're doing such great. Oh, this looks great, and whatever. They say your thanks and be grateful, be wholesome. But I think it's a neutral space, because you're not doing it for that either. So when you're not doing it for that, it makes it easier to not sort of, you know, fall victim to the bad stuff as well, because you're not always putting yourself up on a pedestal from all the good stuff. So if you kind of stay neutral, stay in a medium, like sort of like a middle ground, you know, you can kind of work with that. And, you know, you can't really be tugged both ways, and you know exactly what you're doing it for, which is just having fun and like putting the story out there and creating a space that people want to come to, or creating a profile that people want to watch. And that's really great. And even things like, you know, we won the Canberra's favorite café award last year. And sometimes I forget we did that, because it's like, although a great testament to all our hard work over the years, it's also just like, you know, it's cool. And I was grateful and I was thankful, and I appreciate all the votes that we got, because it was from the public as well, which is another great thing. And it's just mainly for the team as well, because the team want to be a part of something that's good. And for them, you know, we want to celebrate. We want to sort of tell them that, you know, this is what we're doing it for. But I feel like us as the bosses, and even the bosses of our own lives, like you don't really want to be, you know, seeking any sort of materialistic return for anything, or any sort of accolades and all this type of stuff. You just do it just because you're having fun, and you really want to have like a good crack at it, and you want to have a good time. And that helps that helps to not sort of get yourself down about bad comments and all that type of stuff, because it's like, you're just neutral about most things. I don't know if that's like kind of like, it's a bit like, you know, whatever, but I think it's just the best place to be sometimes. And that's something as well that I've listened to from a lot of big successful CEOs and all this type of stuff, like massive, you know, people that have billion-dollar businesses, million-dollar businesses and all this type of stuff. Usually for the most part, they just say like, just stay neutral about everything. You know, you might have a really, 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 really big win, and you know, you sort of, you know, you make a big deal, and you know, and then you go to whatever, and then, you know, in their situation, what's can happen, they become complacent, they become lazy, and then they lose out on a bigger deal. And it's just like, whatever. But if you were just neutral and you just went, cool, thank you very much, that's great, shake their hands, and then get back to work, and you're doing it because you're in pursuit of just the process of enjoying it and not the end result, then I think it can kind of like just be quite tame, to say the least.
Good things are not always as good as they seem. Bad things aren't always as bad as they seem. Life is life, right? For someone, Zach, that's not in your position, that does not have the life experience, the maturity, and the support structure that you have, can you reflect on a moment of your life when you were at your lowest? And what are 2 things that helped you that you can share with somebody that's just not feeling great?
Oof. I think you really got to sometimes just take a third person perspective on what's going on, and just really view it from someone else's lens. I think that's a really good way to start to figure out like where things might not be going the way that you want to be going. And, and it could be anything. Like you can really look back on your week, you can write everything down, you can go through what's going on, and it's quite hard to nail it down. But it could just mean, you just need a little bit more rest. You need to go see those friends that you haven't seen in a little while. You need to go eat that comfort meal that you haven't had in a bit because you didn't realize it's been 6 months or something like that. Or, I'm terrible at checking up with friends. I'm terrible with seeing my mates, and I've done a little bit better in the last couple of years. But there'd be times at the start of Kita where, I'd go months and months and months and months and months and months without seeing anyone. I was missing birthdays. I was doing this. I was doing that. And I think without friends, you just don't really sometimes have much either. So you got to really figure out what your priorities are. You really want to figure out like what's important and what's like true to your heart. And then just lean in on it. And if that means, doing a little bit of less of something that you think you need to do, you thought you needed to do more of, you might just be wrong. And that's okay as well. And again, just pivot. Just pivot and move and give it a go and don't give up. Things take time. And, for what it's worth, whatever anyone's feeling is valid as well. And it's like, I think that's probably maybe the best advice that I could give in that respect. Yeah.
You already do a lot. What's the deal with Kita merch?
Yeah.
It looks funky.
Yeah.
But it also looks like something you care about if you're going to say thank you to somebody who bought it from Interstate and actually go and post it yourself. What's the deal with Kita merch?
Well, I think what we realize at Kita is like, I don't know, I think thinking back on what I thought hospitality was I thought just hospitality was just the industry of food and beverage. I thought it was just that. And I was a bit conflicted in my place within the industry because I was like, I like food. Like I love food. But at this moment, I'm not really passionate about like produce or where things are sourced, all this type of stuff as well. I know that some people might feel shocked to that, but it's just like, I don't know, like I just like good food. And, I was looking at all these other people who are doing like, hatted restaurants or like on YouTube with this Michelin star stuff because I thought that was the measure of success and stuff like that. And I was just like, I just don't really like care about that type of stuff as much, but I can lean in onto this and I can lean in onto that. And then I realized that hospitality, and it's funnily enough because it's probably one of the only industries that you can kind of do it. Actually, no, I think you can do it anywhere, and you can kind of like you have your toe in little pockets of anything that you feel interested in. And I think that's really important. So hospitality for me is first and foremost, obviously, the business of people and the business of connection, but it also can mean, the business of clothing, business of architecture, the business of, interior design, the business of, content creation. It's like all these little things that it can be, and it kind of gives you, and what Kita's given me is just like a brand and just like a name to put it under. So I don't have to struggle with it. If you ask anyone who started a clothing brand, like either the hardest or the easiest thing was to figure out a logo and a name. And we have that. And it's like, funnily enough, it's probably the least important thing when starting the clothing brand is the name and the logo, because you can always change it and it's fine. But we had what we had, and we rocked with it. And the massive point where we took it a little bit more seriously is we had a staff member, shout out Rafi, who came on board, and I realized later in his career, he never said it, or maybe he did, I just didn't hear it, that he was a fantastic graphic designer. And I was just like, bro, you've been hiding this from me for this long, dude. Like, you're actually good. And a little story behind that is like, I had an idea for our jumper last year, and he was like, hey man, do you reckon I might try to like design something for it? Because we were talking about it and whatever. And something I struggled with the most is finding just a graphics design person. I was talking to people who do tattoos, and they were giving me designs that just like were tattoos, and it didn't translate well. I was trying to do some things and trying to like learn like Illustrator, but it was like, I don't want, this is not my thing. And I was settling sometimes for like the bare minimum to do it with. So the things that you see now are only coming into fruition because of Rafi's involvement. And yeah, like I said, sorry, just touch on that story before, but he's like, I want to design you something. And I was like, cool, no worries. And like my ignorance was just like, ooh, what if it's not good? I'm going to have to break this kid's heart a little bit. And I kind of said at the start, I said, dude, if I don't like it, I'll just let you know. Like you said, that expectation at the start. It's like, yeah, cool, no worries. And he came through with this sick design. I'm like, bro, what? Like it was the, caricature, little kidder owl, and had a great text, and it just felt like kidder. I was like, dude, yes. And then that ignited his confidence, I think, within the workplace as well. And that was a really great relationship that we started bonding over. So now he is someone who I sit down with weekly, and we come up with different designs and different things. And because fashion and what I wear is an expression of myself, and that's really important to me. And I love clothes. I love clothing, and I love what people are doing with their businesses. I like to try and do what sometimes people are doing with their clothing businesses with our business. Mainly on social media and stuff like that. I treat every sort of merch drop as if we were a clothing brand. You tease it, you have a bit of fun with it. You know what I mean? And I think the day and age of just slapping your logo on a blank t-shirt and just expecting people to buy it is sort of over, and people want a little bit more. And if you can have fun with it, and you can have the added advantage of having a fantastic graphics designer in your team, then we've worked together and we've collaborated. We've collaborated heaps with it, and I wouldn't be where I am without him though. Like I wouldn't be, on top of things, because I take care of all the, all the emails, all the sourcing. I take care of all, reaching out to the people who I need to organize it with, and he just sits down and he just he's a wizard at it, and he just comes up with something sick. And it's he gets it. He's in the environment of Kita. He knows exactly, first and foremost, what it is, what it needs, what the people are, who the people are, what people are going to buy, what people might not want to buy. Instead of just being a graphic designer where I have to try to pitch them an idea and pitch them what I think Kita is, and then they might have a completely different perception of it as well. So, joining forces with him has been huge, and it's just something that just adds on that creativity. Again, I needed a pivot. I needed something to keep me going and be creative. We didn't for the first couple of years, I always wanted to do merch. I have a million tabs open in my notes where I had ideas, but I just didn't have anyone to facilitate any sort of designs or any vision, practical vision of it. I just had just ideas. And with Rafi's help, he's been able to put those ideas into reality. And with that, I think through this year, now that we've got a good sort of foundation base, I've created the relationships with the clothing manufacturers. I created relationships with screen printers around Adelaide, Melbourne, Canberra, and all that type of stuff. So I'm able to reach out and source some great pieces of clothing that are just a little bit more than your stock standard ones that a lot of people find quite convenient to get. Nothing wrong with them at all. It's just we wanted to see what else we could do. And going to have lots of fun with it this year, hoping to have a drop out next month. I think it's going to be great. And I think this is something that's opened my eyes. I want to do collaborations with other sort of clothing brands. Shout out Mont. I don't know if you guys know Mont, but it's a mountaineering sort of Canberran brand that I have yet to pitch my idea to. But, someone they're Canberra based. So we get a lot of rock climbers that come in from Blockhouse. They come in, and the clothing that they do are really cool. So I want to reach out to them and see if we can work together. And you can kind of cross industries over, and you can kind of melt them together. And that's just, again, another form of business as well. It all comes back to you, and that works out. It's just you having a lot of fun with it, and you're working with people, and that's first and foremost for me. It's how can I sort of stay to what I'm true at, which is the culture and the people, and connect with as many people as I can, and not just with the industry. You know what I mean? The world's bigger than that, so you can kind of go about it in that way. And clothing is the best way to one of the best ways to really connect with people. And the fact that I have my reach from my personal social media means I can ship it to people around the world, people around Australia, and people can be representing Kita from wherever they are. And it's what's that? Where's that? And it's a nice little sort of, organic topic of subject.
And it's something you still deeply care about, which is amazing. Right. Having a fantastic team is always a blessing. How do you keep your core team members together, motivated, and loving what they are doing?
I think something that I really live by, and one of my biggest philosophies as a leader, is in order to be great, you just have to be good repeated. And I think that really speaks volumes with the team, because all they really need is someone that's just there, like someone that is just there. And I think a lot of people get really caught up on being great. You know what I mean? They want to put a lot of effort into, you know, they want to do these big, great, just big, great gestures of like Christmas parties or anniversaries, or, you know, again, like when, you know, you win something like, you know, Canberra's favorite thing, you celebrate these big, great things, you know, you'll go above and beyond and, you know, do these great things and whatever. But then they say they fail to sort of just be good in other areas as well, right? So, you know, being great sometimes isn't good. And I think I really sort of lean in on that a lot because just rock up, you know, I'm just there, you know, if they need anything, if they have any issues, I'm there to address it straight away. And I think that that's really impactful with them. And it's like a very pressure-free space. Like I am first and foremost with anyone who I meet, encouraging of their own personal achievements, encouraging of their own sort of personal endeavors, that I want the best for them as a person. And when you treat them as like a human and not like just someone that works in your business, then I think you'll get a human out of them. And you know, there's just like, it's just always been an encouraging environment where I'm like, well, if you need to go do this for yourself, like go do it. And, you know, I think people can see that. And if someone kind of, you know, then they speak within themselves internally, and that comes from me as a leader and as setting by example. And if they go, you know, say someone wanted to leave because they wanted to pursue whatever they wanted to pursue, and then someone else kind of asks them how I reacted about it, and all they can say is that he was super chill. He encouraged me to go, and he said, you know, if you ever get stuck, you can come back and we'll have something for you if you need. But also, if you want to come back and you want to resort to this because it's also a safe space as well, I'll question that within yourself. Because, you know, out there is scary, and you might want to pursue something in real estate or in music or in entertainment, and they're hard industries to get into. And hospitality is quite, you know, especially what we've got a Kidder, not even just hospitality, sorry, Kidder itself is a safe space for everyone to come back to if they need something. I will, you know, I'll do my best to sort of just figure out like maybe where I need to push you a little bit more to go do whatever you need for your person. But I think it's really important. Like, you know, it's, you know, I think our retention rate is actually quite higher than the other cafes in the industry. You know what I mean? Like some of our staff members have been with us for 6 years, and you know, we've only recently hired some new staff, but I only really hire maybe once or twice a year. And the reason why people leave is because they're either pursuing their studied careers, or they're moving interstate, or they're really trying to put themselves out there, and they find that sometimes Kidder can be a little bit of a safe space, so you can kind of just like switch off a little bit, because that's that community vibe, that's your family safety net that sometimes you need to break away from in order to do what's best for yourself. And I think it's just because we create a great environment that's you know, that's managed well, if I might say so myself. There's great communication. You know, I give them all the tools and all the facilities to succeed with what they've got. I don't expect anything from them unless I've deliberately shown them something, and that takes a lot of patience and a lot of time. And I think for them, again, going back to our core values and pillars, like, you know, it's everything that you do need at a space. You know, you want to have a space that's really fun, and you know, somewhere you want to be at. And that's ultimately my job as a leader and as a manager. Is they don't work for me, I work for them, and every single one of their needs and every single one of their sort of you know, personalized niches need to be met, and they're all different. And, you know, it's the intentional interactions with people that make the difference. I think sometimes in this situation, consistency is kind of overrated. You know, it's like in intentional over consistency, right? Everyone's got a different set of needs. Everyone's got a different level of energy. Everyone's got a different background. So I need to be intentional with who I'm with and not be consistent across the board with everybody. Everyone's a bit different. And I think that really sort of sets me apart sometimes from other managers and other leaders, is because these people are human. And these people want to just be respected. They want to sort of just be in a great environment. They want to have fun. They also want to be challenged. You know what I mean? They also want to get somewhere. And if I'm able to facilitate all those things, then for no better purpose, they don't really have a reason to leave. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people within the industry and within hospitality, they have people coming in and coming out, and it's mainly just because you've just given them a reason to leave, and it's for whatever reason you've sort of, you've dealt with the situation badly. You maybe sworn at them. You maybe yelled at them. Maybe, stress levels have gotten so high that you've really put someone down for making a mistake. And that stays with people. And that's really demoralizing. And if you're able to facilitate a space where none of that happens, then I think that is the key to success. And if you can kind of come across with kindness and forgiveness and just a bit of patience, and before saying, if someone's not on their A game, critiquing them or giving them a hard time, maybe just taking an extra second to be like, hey, is everything okay? Like, are you okay? What's going on? This isn't I can identify this isn't your normal self, and it seems like you're holding back. Instead of just being like, do this quicker and what's going on? You know what I mean? Like you might get the same outcome. It's just like one's gonna keep someone around a little bit longer. And that's what I think sets us apart from that. And again, like it's like such a little like beneficial thing within your business, because your customers see it. They see the same face every time they come in. Like, you know what I mean? They've seen some of these staff members like grow up. It's like really funny. And that just also just comes back on me and how much mental clarity I need to have these conversations, because it can be really tough, in these moments of stressful situations. That's when like your true leadership really shows. And if you can't deal with a stressful situation, especially in hospitality, probably shouldn't be in hospitality. And, I can only manage those stress levels if I take care of myself first, right? Like, at the end of the day, the biggest customer is yourself. And if I go to the gym, I take care of myself, I do what I need to do to fulfill something in me, then I've got the energy and the love to give out, because I've given myself that first. And I think that's just really important. But maybe ask them. Maybe if you get an opportunity to come by the shop, they can tell you. Maybe they see something in the place, or maybe they see something in me that I don't see. And I'm trying to do all these little things in other places. Maybe I don't need to try that hard. But I'd encourage you also to ask them if you want to.
Zach, I'm
confident.
It's amazing. I've learned so much from just sitting across from you. You bring maturity that's not just in words, but in actions, to even frame and think of, yes, someone's not doing well. I'm going to ask them if they're okay. And that comes from a place of care, but that comes from a place of upbringing. That comes from a place of, being true to who you are. If a young person or an entrepreneur would meet you on the streets and say, hey, dude, who are you? And in those terms, how would you best describe to them in a couple of minutes who you are, what you stand for, and what you do?
Oof. I think I'd say that I'm now a 25-year-old business owner who's in the hospitality industry, not exclusive to just a venue, but in all of it, who is quite simply trying to seek out the mission to bring out the best in people and the best environments for people. I think, again, hospitality has this perception of, stress, mean owners, terrible conditions. And if I can do one thing, which is facilitate an environment where people feel supported, then I know I've sort of succeeded in that respect. So for me, I'm a young entrepreneur. That's right. And I'm just having fun, man. I'm just trying to have fun, trying to be true to myself, trying to stay clear with what I want, whilst trying to figure out what that want is, and doing that through people, doing that through connection, doing that through bringing people along with me, and totally.
And if somebody wants to continue on this conversation and connect with you and learn more from you and find some time with you to sit and have a meal, where do people find you?
I'll be at the shop, man. I'll be at the restaurant. I'll be working away. I'm there. 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. So, yeah, if anyone wants to come by and hang out with me, like I said, I've got time. I've got all night. That's typically where I am. Most of the time for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, dude. That was great.
A massive thank you to Crown Plaza Canberra for hosting this episode of the podcast. If you are looking for really nice accommodation in close proximity to Canberra CBD, or if you want well-appointed meeting spaces, check out Crown Plaza Canberra. Thank you again.